Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going somewhere a bit different with financial crime. We're looking past the initial theft, you know.
Yeah, we're focusing on the psychological game that happens afterwards, that slow burn.
Exactly. That theft of time, of hope, even certainty, that happens when a victim knows they've been defrauded, but is still caught in the perpetrator's web.
And we've been digging into sources around the Din scheme run by Ghazala Din. It was a big one, lots of angles.
But our mission for you today is pretty specific. We're zeroing in on one victim's firsthand account.
Mm-hmm. And we're really going to analyze how Din used simple excuses, seemingly mundane reasons, as the active tool to keep the scam going long after it should have been over.
Okay, let's paint the picture. It's October 2023. For this victim, the scheme is out in the open, undeniable. They know they've lost money, they're desperate.
Just desperate for some kind of resolution, any sign of getting something back.
Then the phone rings. It's a damp Monday morning, apparently, and it's Ghazala Din herself on the line.
Wow. And in that moment, you can imagine, that call isn't just a call. It feels like a lifeline, maybe. A shot of adrenaline, of possibility.
The victim needed some control, and Din, well, she delivered the perfect opening line for that.
How did she sound? According to the source, she sounded bright, cheerful even. And then the big one, my bank accounts are open again. Ah, okay. So, hitting the main perceived obstacle head on, the legal freeze is gone, implying repayment is now actually possible, like imminent.
Right. It creates this feeling that recovery is just right there, inches away.
But this is where the manipulation gets really sophisticated, or maybe just brazen, because there's an immediate pivot, isn't there?
Yes. Straight after that hopeful news, there's this described soft sigh and a careful pause. You could almost hear it.
That pause, that's the tell. That's where the strategy shifts, right?
It seems like it. It completely neutralizes the good news she just delivered. Why do that, though? Why give good news just to immediately pull it back? Wouldn't that just annoy the victim?
Well, maybe counterintuitively, it does a couple of things better than just causing frustration. First, that good news accounts are open kind of proves she could pay. It suggests she's, trying.
Okay, so it establishes theoretical capability.
Exactly. And second, the delay isn't presented as some bureaucratic snag. It's delivered as a personal issue needing sympathy. The very first excuse wasn't technical at all.
Or was it?
But I can't transfer anything today. I have hospital appointments all week. Very personal. Very relatable.
So suddenly, the victim isn't just a victim demanding justice from a criminal.
No. Now they're put in the position of having to show understanding, maybe even compassion, to someone dealing with, well, health issues.
So it reframes the whole interaction and buys her time without making her look like the bad guy in that specific moment.
Precisely. It gets her a whole week's delay, at least, without significant pushback. It's a classic tactic, really using these unverifiable personal crises to stall and make the victim feel guilty for pressing.
And the source makes it clear this wasn't a one-off. It says, days blurred into weeks, and whenever the victim followed up, there was a new excuse waiting. Described as being like a script she'd rehearsed.
Yeah, that scripted feeling is important. It suggests intention, planning. If we look at these excuses, they sort of fall into patterns, categories, each designed to wear the victim down in a specific way.
Okay, let's break down that script. What was the first type of excuse?
Well, you have the classic moving goalposts, the slippery timing promises,
Like
tomorrow, then when tomorrow comes, it's next week. Then maybe, definitely by the end of the month.
Why is that so effective? Psychologically, I mean. Why not just vaguely say soon?
Because soon is too abstract. These specific near-term dates tomorrow, next week, they give the victim something concrete to hang on to. Scheduled hope.
So it keeps them hooked in. Checking their phone, checking their bank.
Exactly. They're actively invested. They're spending emotional energy anticipating something specific that, well, just keeps getting pushed back. She's stealing their focus day by day.
Okay, that makes sense. It's an energy drain. What was the next category in her script? You mentioned logistical blockades.
Yeah, these are the ones that sound official, systemic, kind of out of her hands. Things like, oh, the bank accounts are frozen again.
Right, implying some external force is the problem. Or the other classic bureaucratic move. Someone else is going to handle the payments now, pass in the buck. And as the victim, you can't just ring up her bank manager to check, can you?
Nope. It makes the whole recovery process seem tangled, complex, justifying more delay. The victim starts thinking, okay, maybe it's not really her fault this time. It's just paperwork, legal stuff.
It deflects blame onto the system.
Definitely. And she'd apparently throw in things like court delays, too. It builds this whole narrative that she's also just, battling the red tape, frustrated by it all, just like the victim.
Creating a false sense of alignment almost. We're both fighting the system.
Mm-hmm. But then, just when you think it's all about process, she could snap right back to the very personal excuses.
Like the hospital appointments.
Yeah, or the sudden emergence of a sudden illness, often timed perfectly just before a payment was supposedly due.
That feels like the ultimate emotional manipulation.
It really is. It plays directly on basic human decency, on empathy. How can you aggressively demand your money back from someone who's just told you they're seriously ill?
It makes you feel like a bad person for even asking. So the question shifts from where's my money to am I being unreasonable pushing a sick person?
Precisely. It puts the victim in a double bind.
So looking at this range, the vague timing, the complex logistics, the sudden personal crises, it seems like Din always had an excuse ready that was basically impossible to challenge.
Right. Impossible to verify and impossible to argue against without sounding either impatient or petty or just plain heartless. It's a very effective toolkit for keeping someone at bay indefinitely.
A perfect script for deception, as the source put it.
Yeah.
But what did this constant barrage of excuses actually do to the victim? Mentally, emotionally, the source talks about a turning point.
Yeah, a really significant psychological shift. Initially, the victim felt they had to believe her. They needed that hope.
Clinging to those phone calls, those promises, the source uses the phrase lifeline.
A lifeline, exactly. But that feeling inevitably started to fray. The constant inconsistency, the delays, it creates cognitive dissonance. You can only sustain that belief for so long.
And then what?
Then came the realization that the very thing that felt like a lifeline, those regular calls, the gentle reassurances, was actually becoming, well, the source says, a noose.
Wow, that's powerful imagery.
Isn't it? It perfectly captures how something that seems to offer hope can actually trap you, bind you tighter to the perpetrator and their ongoing manipulation. It stops you moving on.
Yeah, it prevents any kind of closure, emotionally or practically.
Yeah.
Keeps you stuck waiting.
And the emotional trajectory described confirms that. That initial hope didn't just fade, it curdled, first into exhaustion, then frustration.
And
Finally, it hardened into a slow, searing anger. An anger not just about the money originally stolen, but about this constant, ongoing disrespect, the theft of the present moment.
which leads to the victim's ultimate gut-wrenching conclusion about Din's actual intentions.
Yeah.
The realization was simple and devastating.
Huh.
Din never intended to give back a single penny. So all of it, the hospital visits, the court delays, the promises for tomorrow, it was all just theater.
Pure performance. The source says the carefully chosen words and the gentle promises weren't about trying to fix things or make amends. They were just another layer of the lie.
Refined, practiced deception, designed purely to manage the victim.
To maintain control over their expectations, their emotions, their timeline.
So if we step back from the specifics of this one case, what's the core insight here? What did the victim finally understand about this whole strategy of excuses?
The core insight is brutal. It's that the excuses, the frozen accounts, the illness, the endless delays, they weren't obstacles preventing repayment. They were the scam. The scam had evolved.
So the goal wasn't just getting the money anymore.
No, the goal became keeping the money by keeping the victim trapped in the state of limbo, running them down, exhausting their energy, their hope, their will to keep fighting until they just gave up.
That goes so much deeper than just the financial loss, this secondary scam, the scam of the excuse. What did that steal?
Well, according to the source, it stole things far harder to get back than money. It stole trust, it stole sleep, and maybe the most profound loss,
What's that?
it stole the quiet certainty that people mean what they say.
Wow. That loss of fundamental trust, that's a lasting scar.
Absolutely. When you've experienced that level of calculated, sincere-sounding deception, it can shatter your basic assumptions about how communication works, about basic human honesty. You start questioning everything.
It poisons your view of interactions. A really chilling place to arrive at, back in that cold October, realizing the delay wasn't just bad luck, it was the final act of theft.
Mm-hmm. And in many of these prolonged schemes, financial or otherwise, maintaining that false hope is the end game. It's the most valuable thing left to steal because it paralyzes the victim, stops them from healing, from moving forward.
Okay, so let's try to summarize the key takeaway from this deep dive. In cases like the Din scheme, these post-exposure excuses, the delays, the deflections, they aren't just unfortunate complications.
No, not at all. They are the active, intentional continuation of the fraud. They're tools, specifically chosen and deployed to grind the victim down psychologically until they